going to start off. We'll start with you. If we just get everyone on the panel to introduce themselves and what they do.
Yeah, no problem at all. Hi, everyone. What a wonderful event we're at today. Some amazing people we're meeting. I think we should be absolutely amazed at how well everyone's doing. So, great event. So, my name's Charlene Hughes. I work for a company called Sensata Technologies. Some people may actually know them as originally being Schrader Electronics, and probably better known as a manufacturer and developer of TPMS systems. I'm actually the senior manager of program management team. I'm actually not in the TPMS section that most people will know Sensata Technologies as. I actually work in what is called Sensata Insights. And Sensata Insights do IoT solutions for different things. It was interesting today because a few buzzwords have been going around. We actually develop telematics systems for insurance companies, and so it's all about developing a system. We also develop the hardware right through to the overall solution where our customers can get their data from. So we do things like track containers going across sea. So it was interesting today. So many people brought that up. So yeah, and currently I have a global team who are based here in Northern Ireland, also in Lithuania and in the US, and we worked in the engineering function alongside the folks who are smart and develop the product and solutions, and we work with customers and etc.
Thank you so much. Charlene, do you want to introduce yourself? Faye?
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Faye Thomas. I'm Chief Commercial Officer at Vita. I'm the only female on our executive team, or even even further than that, it's on the board. Very glad to say that although we have our leadership team and it's about 45% female, so it's nice to see the amount of women sitting in here and actually realising how many women are in tech in Northern Ireland, which is fantastic. So Vita is an organisation that supports businesses and other organisations with their ESG strategies by providing sustainable solutions for IT lifecycle. So effectively what we do is collect equipment. Well, we manage the full lifecycle and do other services as well, but the main part is collecting equipment from businesses when they've come to end of life with that, refurbishing it, reselling it to or reusing it to unlock value for organisations. So it's really on the green agenda. It's doing something good, which is fantastic, and it's really about supporting other organisations globally. So we have sites in Northern Ireland. We have two sites in Northern Ireland, one in GB, one in Republic of Ireland, but then we work with a partner network to be able to provide a fully global service. So quite proud to say.
Thank you, Faye. Maria, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Maria Scott. I'm the Managing Director for MCS Group. I recently rejoined the business in January of this year after taking 6 years out to set up a sister company on behalf of myself and my business partners, Louise and Barry. So Louise Smith, who's in the room today, has very kindly given me the honour of sitting on the panel. I did have massive imposter syndrome about half an hour ago and needed to swap my badge with her, but here I am. Thanks, Louise. So we're really proud to sponsor the event. I know MCS have been really proud sponsors of the Women in Tech event over the last number of years. So for me, it's really exciting to come today, get to know the businesses that are here, and hopefully share some of my insights as well. And I'm delighted to be sitting on the panel with these lovely ladies. Faye, we do a lot of work with your organisation as part of our own ESG strategy, and I know Sarah, we've met previously, so friendly faces on the panel here. So I'm looking forward to this morning.
Thanks very much, Brian. And yeah, MCS sponsor the event, and they're brilliant to work with. And we had Sarah talking at the start there as well. So thank you so much. Finally, Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Sarah Milliken. I'm head of talent and culture at AFLAC, not ALFAC, just getting the brand out there. So I'm responsible for our talent acquisition strategy locally, but we are parented by an American company. So AFLAC have been around for 68 years. They're a Fortune 150 supplemental health insurance. So that will mean nothing to you. So I'm going to explain what that is really quickly. So supplemental health insurance basically covers the gap that in the US and Japan major medical doesn't pay. So for the teams here in terms of our technology and cybersecurity, we're working on applications and systems to put money in the hands of our customers as fast as possible, because typically they're not having a great day when they need to come to AFLAC.
Thank you so much, and welcome to the panel. So obviously we're going to look at the the intersection between organizational purpose and purpose-driven initiatives. But Faye, if we kick off with you, what do we mean by a purpose-driven organization?
So for me, a purpose-driven organisation is an organisation or a business that's doing something good alongside their standard business practices. Now, that can be providing sustainable solutions, social, adding social impact, etc. It's really about maintaining the core of your business and having something good alongside that supports the local community or anything outside that.
And I know you obviously mentioned there social impact, but what can technology for societal impact look like, Charlene, if we go to you for this? And can this still enable a focus on the bottom line for a business?
Yeah. As we've been listening to different discussions today, you think about societal impact and technology. Technology is innovative, right? So there's various different technologies out there today that obviously can help a society, whether you work for a large corporation or even a small business. What you design and what you introduce can help not just your local government but also globally. So you think about things like renewable energies, stuff like that. The other thing too, if you think about technology and innovation, it creates jobs. And we come through, and people coming through and encourage people into the different industries. And, today we've heard some people talking about how they get into their career, and you can hear them talking about, like, for example, they wanted to make a difference. So if you've got a company that that does technology that's creative and means something, you're going to get people wanting to join you. So technology does really play an important part in societal impact. And obviously the bottom line, of course, we're here, we have to make money if we want to survive. So what your technology innovations are, they can create new customers. I've seen, where I've been working with a team of people who are quoting new business, and those big OEMs in automotive will ask about your carbon footprint. They want to know what you're doing about it. So it helps you win business. And also if you can create new technology that is innovative and it obviously then starts improving the bottom line with new technology coming through.
Thank you, Charlene. And do keep your questions coming through on Slido. We're going to go to those in a second. So Sarah, are there specific strategies that companies can use for kind of fostering that purpose-driven culture?
We were really lucky. We set up here in Northern Ireland in 2019. So for us, thinking about purpose, it was absolutely intentional to build that into how we talk about ourselves, how we talk about our customers. So every new employee, basically, developers want to get hands on code day one. We don't let them. We take that time to really spend understanding our customer and kind of linking that back to the why we do what we do, which is key from a kind of purpose perspective. So I would say take the time and think about it from an intentional perspective. It's not something that just happens. It's not that magic, it's not the extraordinary things that Maria talked about earlier. It's definitely thinking about, what do you want to do? How do you want to connect back to the why and really taking the time to craft that out, which isn't always easy. We were absolutely in a really kind of advantageous point of creating something from the start here, which was really special. So I would say just take the time to think about what it is that you want to be known for and really double down on that.
Thank you, Sarah. And Maria, obviously you're managing director at MCS. What, as a purpose-driven organisation, what is the ability, or how does that work in terms of attracting and retaining talent?
Well, for both MCS and Honeycomb, we are very purpose-driven in what we do. And actually, I think part of it is being quite intentional, as you said, in terms of just what we want to do as individuals and people building a business. So it's not just about making profit. It's not just about sort of building an empire. It's really about doing something good for the society we live in and giving something back. And that has been part of our DNA from day one. So a lot of the things that we do day to day as part of our good business practice link into sort of that sort of ESG piece naturally, and I'm really proud of that. So for us, I think for me personally, I'm somebody who is very focused on doing the right thing. And I think when you're in a fast-paced commercial organisation, if that's always your North Star in terms of how you deal with people, how you deal with sort of some of those strategies, that keeps me really focused. And I hope you can see that passion coming through for anybody we're bringing into the business. I think more so now than just looking at what the role is day to day, people we're bringing into the business are very focused on what our message is, what our values are, how we live by those. But absolutely for our clients, when we're recruiting for our client organisations, particularly in tech actually, that is the big driver. You know, individuals who are looking to change a career will very often look at that. At the forefront is the work that they're doing making an impact. Can they see that meaning? Are they connected to the organisation and their values? And I know, Sarah, we talked about this sort of separately, but there has to be an authenticity when businesses are doing that. It can't be just paying lip service to that. People really quickly see if an organisation is paying lip service to that piece, but where they can see that there's a real sort of impact in what they're doing and a real purpose to the work that they're doing. That really helps retain fantastic talent. It gives people that drive. And it just makes it a better place to work.
I'd like to add to that. So recent studies have suggested that Gen Z now look for whether an organisation is doing something good before they will even consider joining it. I was very lucky to be at a table there with 5 or 6 young girls who were all in their late teens, early 20s, who I asked that question to, and they all confirmed to think that, to say that yes, it was particularly important. And in fact, one of them did say that they had lots of questions to go back to their town hall to their CEO to actually ask what good are they doing as an organisation and what can they do more, which is really, really important.
It's interesting to look at it in terms of in a generational way as well. Like that's new, you know. It's fascinating. And we've had, just in terms of non-tech, and we're at a tech conference, but you know, with people from all areas here, someone has said, I'd like a ban on calling the engineers and devs the smart ones. They're just specialists, and people in HR, sales, or whatever are just as clever. So that's obviously from HR. But someone else has then said underneath it, how are you developing non-tech talent, so it's kind of fits in with that, within your tech organisations to remain relevant? So how are you working on not just focusing on the tech talent, but the other talent, the marketing talent, the HR talent to be relevant in your organisations? Anyone?
I'll take that one. I mean, we are predominantly a tech company here in Northern Ireland, but we do have, you know, lots of non-tech. I'm not sure I even like that term, but I think it's thinking about the skills, and again, another term, the human skills. We've evolved from soft skills to human skills. I don't know what's better, but those kind of problem solving, the communication skills, the presentation skills, you know, that's across the board. You don't have to be in a technology role to want to learn those sorts of things. And you know, for us, that's really important at looking holistically is how do we make you better? So, you know, in the role that you're doing, be it tech or non-tech, you know, what are the skills that you need to be a better insert job title here? So, you know, I'm not sure I really answered the non-tech and tech, but
yeah, I'll maybe jump into, and I agree. It doesn't necessarily just need to be in a tech organisation. The same applies across all organisations. So in a sales organisation, you know, the sales team are held up as though they're the money makers, but what about the operations team in the back end? And I think for me, it's really important that in any organisation, each function and each person is really valued for the impact that they have. And I think what I have seen is that you really need to connect that team, that individual, with the purpose of the organisation. So I know coming into my my role again in MCS, one of the first things I did was sat down with the various teams outside of sales, you know, into the operations team to go, okay, how are you impacting on our overall business strategy? How is the role that you're playing day to day impacting on all of those core pillars we have, and really connecting them back to the message and letting them see how their input really drives our success too. So it's not just the technical team versus the non-technical team. It applies across all organisations, and connecting every single individual and every team to the overall goal and purpose.
Thank you, Charlene. You
I was going to add to that one, because you know, when working in program management, you have to have your tech and your non-tech people together. You can't do it without non-tech people. You need your sales team, you need your marketing team, you need your operations team. You know, so you all come together to make whatever you're doing a success. So it's not just the technology people, it's everyone in the company that makes it a success, especially if you're delivering something to a customer. We need everyone on board, even HR as well, to guide us and support us through that journey.
Thank you. Faye, we have a question for you here. So Faye, great to see a female CCO. Commercial world is typically male dominated. What advice would you give to women to keep climbing in the tech commercial world?
main advice would be to try to ignore your imposter syndrome. You're going to get it. You're very, very much going to get it. But at the end of the day, we are as capable, and in some cases a lot more capable than many men. And the thing is, and quite often we're trying harder and we care more. So that takes the ability to make you step up. I suppose to try and just see people as people and not care about their sex, and just put what you can into, you know, where you want to go. I suppose that would be my main takeaway.
I loved it there wherever you said, what did you say? We try harder and we care more.
Yeah.
There's one where we're like, yep. And there's two guys in the back. They're like, yep. Also, we have a few questions, kind of on a similar page about women and kind of being elevated to leadership positions. But we have quite a few questions, interestingly enough, about being introverted. So someone has said, how does one promote introvert personalities in this social, all out there and on social media all the time environment? And someone else says, how do you recognise and help to improve talent and support people in a big pool of people within the organisation if they're loud versus non-loud people, or introverts versus extroverts? So is it, I mean, in tech, is it harder for introverts, or how do those kind of introvert personalities get through all the noise, I guess? Quite a few questions on that. Charlene, do you want to?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because one of the things that I see is, you know, if you're in a room and you're, you know, brainstorming, or you're sitting down and you're going through what do we do next, or what's happened here would cause something, you do have individuals who want to talk, but you've also got quiet ones. And you as a leader in that room, or anyone in that room, you know, give those people an opportunity to have a voice, and, you know, encourage them to speak up, because what they are thinking and what they do is critical too. You just got so many different personalities in a room, and you've got to manage that room. And definitely as leaders, is encouraging those individuals. Now, some of them may not want to speak up in that environment, but maybe give them that space in a different way, you know, one-to-one. And because really, we want to hear, as managers, leaders, we want to hear everyone's view. We just don't want to hear the extroverts' views. We want everyone's view.
Do we have are people on the panel introverts or extroverts?
I was actually just going to comment that in a work capacity, I'm probably quite extroverted because I need to be.
Yeah.
But outside of work, I would probably say I'm more introverted. And you know, as soon as I go into a more personal setting, well, my family might disagree, but you know, I probably am that combination. And you know, I think in terms of sort of trying to include and make sure all of those voices are heard, you do need to be quite intentional. And I think for anybody who is a little bit more introverted, it is taking the opportunity then when you're given an opportunity to use your voice, to take that and push yourself out of your comfort zone, because there is a little element of taking some control of your career and your ideas and so on. But I think it is easy if you're in particularly a sales environment or like a really busy commercial environment, that it's the loud voices that get heard. So I suppose a bit like you, Charlene, would try and make time for people separately outside of the main meeting or outside of the main sort of conversation to get their thoughts, and then try and weave that back in a wider group setting later on.
Thank you, Maria. What are people in the room, introverts, extroverts? So we'll do a little hands up if you think you're an introvert. Extrovert. Somebody laughed when I put my hand up. My mum's always like, I don't know how you talk to people. You're that odd. I've definitely been an introvert at home as well, but I think once you're in your role, you can change at work, you know, depending on the situation. So we have a question here: elevating talent. Believe in yourself was a theme earlier from Colette's brilliant talk, but how is that actually put into practice? And I wonder, Sarah, head of talent, should we go to you on that?
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a really good question. Obviously, differs in all organisations, size, scale, locations. I guess for us, in terms of how we look at talent, we were very again, that word intentional. We didn't want to create levels for levels' sake. So, you know, I guess thinking about how people are stretched Colette referenced it, in terms of that breadth of opportunities that you can take. That's really important for elevating the talent. So, how can we think about cross-collaboration in teams and not just thinking about silos? So, we look at talent kind of in lots of different ways, and, we've tried to not do things just because they've always been done like that. So we don't have a bell curve, which I'm delighted about. But, things around those crucial conversations. So, Charlene was saying in terms of, people who are perhaps more introverted, that's the perfect opportunity in those one-to-ones or kind of check-ins. What is it that they want to do? How can you help them? Because as leaders and managers, that's what our role is. It's to kind of unblock the things that are standing in the way of somebody in order to give them the best environment to operate in. So it's very much kind of dependent on your organization size as well.
Thank you. And we have a bit of a controversial question here. How do you balance the desire for more female leaders in tech with the concern of prioritizing a female candidate over a male solely based on gender? And the reason just that I think that's slightly controversial is because there are some people, say for example older family members of myself, who might be like, well, they're going to get it now because they're a girl, they're going to get it now because they're X, Y, Z. And you try to explain to them that's not how it works. Everybody see Barbie and Ken's all near man. Are you not doing patriarchy? And he's like, we're just much better at hiding it. It's how do we educate people on that kind of question? How do you balance the desire for more female leaders without just picking a woman over a man based on gender? Charlene?
I know that's one that comes up a lot, when you see females being promoted, and there are still people out there today will say, oh, it's because it's diversity. That's why she's got promoted into that. The company's trying to do that. It does happen. And in those environments, somebody like myself will see that happening, and you call it out. That's the first thing to do. You call it out, because obviously everyone deserves to be recognised for their efforts and their talent. That's not why, that's the reason they get employed into that position, not because they're a woman. So really call it out. Everybody make sure to do it to see how Ruth's really strong feelings about this one. But yeah, no, that's it is happening and continues to happen. We've got to stamp it out of where we are, would be my final comment on that one.
Yeah, and actually no female leader that I know would ever want to be promoted into a role based on their gender. They're 100% there because of capability. And I think you're absolutely right. It is calling it out and actually making sure that the recruitment processes are fair and inclusive, and they're giving the opportunity to go through that process, but certainly not appointed on that one sector.
Thank you. And we've covered lots of talk today about work in the community and giving back. What are your organisations specifically doing to promote IT careers to young women across Northern Ireland?
Ruth? I'll take this one, yeah. No, I think obviously MCS, that's the absolute sort of heart of what we do. It's trying to really encourage from a very grassroots level individuals to move into STEM subjects and tech subjects. So we invest a huge amount every year in terms of sort of the work we do with schools, the work we do with universities, the support we give to organisations like this. Even in terms of our volunteering days, it's very much aligned to making sure that we are linking in with our communities and providing those opportunities. And I think that is going to be increasingly important going forward as well. So we're very much a locally owned business who are really passionate about giving back to the local community. And it's literally in our DNA. It's in everything we do every day. So it's a really important aspect of how we are and how we've grown the business.
Thank you. We have a great question here from Laura Labright. We see a lot of businesses deprioritising purpose and people in rough economies, in particular around DEI activity. How do we keep this a focus and priority?
Probably similar to Charlene. I think it's just continuing to talk about it and not let it slip. It's very easy to just go, well, we need to focus on X and therefore Y slips. But if it's a core part, to your point, Marita, in terms of if it's a core part of your company's DNA, then it should just be part of the continued conversation. It shouldn't be this is a byproduct of who we are as an organisation. No, this is who we are as an organisation. So, for me, there shouldn't be a trade-off. I think it's really important to continue to talk about it and promote it, because that ties into your purpose, it ties into your culture, it ties into your organisational identity. And we know based on kind of what Faye was saying in terms of some of the research of, different generations, they want that. So we're missing out on future talent pools if it's not part of kind of how we market ourselves as well.
Yeah, I suppose at the moment it's maybe happening a lot because there has been a bit of a downturn, especially in tech, and people start thinking about saving money. But people have to remember that if it's what their teams and employees and across the board want and need, and what their customers need, they have to completely focus on it and not take the eye off the ball at all.
Thank you. We have a question here which I'm hoping is from one of our student members here who have said, let's see, the questions come in so quickly they disappear. How can I acquire the necessary experience when most job postings require 2 to 3 years of prior experience? So is there any advice anyone has for that kind of question?
No, I'm just going to take under second, because one of the things to do when you have that where it says 1 to 2 years, I think one, and obviously the ladies here are probably a bit better off answering this question than I am. One of the things I would suggest to people, young people coming through, think about it from a different perspective. Don't think about it just about work. Think about life skills, what you've experienced in life, and how you can justify that 2-year experience and turn it around and explain in that respect why you are a really good candidate for this job. The other thing to think about is if you don't have 2 years, still apply. Give it a go. What have you got to lose?
Yeah, and I would probably mirror that exactly. I think there's lots of statistics and research out there regarding sort of males and females in the job application process, and 90% of men will apply for a job whether they meet the criteria or not, and I think 90% of women will rule themselves out. So I would 100% agree with you, Charlene. While the job description might say, have 1 to 2 years experience, if you feel that that's a role that you can do, you're passionate about, and you have some of the experience available, apply. What's the worst that can happen? But I do think, again, be quite intentional in terms of what you're doing up to that point. So there's opportunities to get work experience. There's opportunities to be mentored through some amazing programs like the Women in Business and Sisters In. And outside of that, if you can have take those opportunities to build your networks as well and build that knowledge and that sort of everything else that's going to support you in your career, do that from a very early stage. There's lots of people here who are willing to help people on that journey.
Yeah, I second exactly what you say there. You talked about the stats about where women all apply for roles or won't apply for roles, whereas men do. So a stat that I read recently is a man will apply for a role if he's got 60% of the essential criteria, and really a woman will not apply for a role unless she is 100% of the essential and the desirable, which we need to really reconsider that because it's so far away from each other.
I think that is really important to that question. It kind of comes up year after year. And I think just going for it anyway, like Charlene saying, what's the worst somebody can say no? I remember whenever this Masters came out in Queen's and I wanted to do it, and it said you had to be a doctor or a dentist to apply. I'm not a doctor or a dentist, but I thought I'll apply for the crack. And I sent them a message and I was like, I would really love to do this course. Like, can I please do it? Like, I swear I'll be a really good student. They let me in, right? There was 10 of us on the course and I was the only one who wasn't a medic, right? And I had a ball and I loved it. And the same thing happened to me with comedy. I used to do science talks. I was doing a talk one time and then I heard someone chatting and they were like, you should get Emer. Emer's a comedian. And I was like, I'm a comedian. But it wasn't before that, I just like, just say yes to things. And just, my dad always says, don't ask, don't get. So there's no harm in asking. If it says 2 or 3 years, like Faye said, like the boys will always go for it. I don't know if their mummies all told them they're amazing or what the crack is, but they'll always go for it. And I think, like, what's the harm? Just ask. The worst somebody's going to do is say no to you. I've got a question, Mairead, for MCS. Do you need to have a degree in IT to get a job in IT? My friend has a degree in another subject.
Not necessarily. No, there's different sort of pathways into organisations and into careers in IT, and I think that's becoming increasingly broad now. So there's lots of different career pathways. People are looking at transferable skill sets. So it's absolutely something that we can explore with whoever that individual is asking the question. But I would say no. There's different gateways in, and it's about sort of the skill and the ability, as opposed to just necessarily that career route. that sort of degree path, sorry. And equally on sort of the academic route, there are lots of different pathways being opened up as well for individuals who are looking to get into the tech sector. So, you don't necessarily have to go down that degree pathway. There's other avenues too, but maybe open it up to some of you ladies who are recruiting in tech side.
So we actually had really much success. I sounded like Borat then, apologies for that. We had really early days, we worked with Belfast Met and the Department of Education to look at an assured skills program. So that was kind of for career switches or people who had, maybe done kind of HNDs and just couldn't really find something for them. And it was amazing. I mean, we got a breadth of diverse experiences, diverse candidates. And actually it was, in terms of that retention piece, I mean, that was back in 2020. We brought 13 on and we've still got 11 of them now. So, it's that loyalty piece as well in terms of taking the risk of someone who perhaps wouldn't necessarily fall straight into that degree category and get into your industry, of taking the chance. And, they're phenomenal. So, I definitely encourage, if you can, as a business, to look at those other avenues as well.
Thank you. And there have been quite a few questions. Do you need a degree to work in this? So thank you for answering that. We have a question. How can you support women through big life changes, for example, starting a family, to either find or protect their purpose when their personal identity is changing?
That's a phenomenal question. I might take that. So, and interesting, I've got 2 kids, so I can speak to that. You definitely lose your identity. I mean, I didn't know I won't swear, my backside from my elbow after I had children. So, then coming back into work and things have changed and tech moves on so quickly. And I think, some of the programs that are out at the moment, Women in Business have a phenomenal kind of returners program. I think it's just kind of understanding that whenever you come back, you are going to be different. The world of work is going to be different. Your priorities are going to be different. And that's okay. You're not going to be the person that you were before you went off and kind of had your family or whatever life event it was. So, finding an organization, and Colette spoke about Kainos, the support that organizations can give you, that's really important too. I mean, it's hard. I'm not going to sit up here and say returning from children is easy. It's absolutely not. But, you come back with a different sense of purpose. You know that you want to go in and you want to work hard, but you also want to get home, because that's probably, where your focus lies.
Yeah, and I would probably agree. I've got 2 children as well, and I think it is challenging. And I think absolutely from a personal perspective, I think it really made me evaluate how I deal with people when they're going through big life changes, because suddenly you realise how vulnerable you are, how you do feel like your confidence is knocked for a while. It takes you a little bit of time to get back up to speed. So when you're feeling unsure of yourself, you need the people around you and work to sort of bolster you until you get back to where you are. And that's probably the thing that I've taken away from it, being a much more empathetic manager or leader, and giving people, I suppose, having faith in people until they get that back in themselves, and just coaching them through that period. But I think it really benefits me. I think I'm much more empathetic in terms of how I deal with people, and actually really force people to go and, you have a life outside of work, and that life is really important. So that's the priority. So hopefully people will see that and see that you can have a really great career. You can come back in. There are challenges, but there's challenges with everything. And get a good support system and a good employer who are going to help you in those times. But yeah,
I think sometimes people underestimate, if you go off for 9 months or you go off for a year, the nerves coming back. I mean, I went on holidays once for 2 weeks, and I came back when I worked in the trust, and I came back and I swear I couldn't remember a thing. So I couldn't imagine it. So, but I think work for a good employer, and also an employer that's very focused on kind of helping you with your personal life so that you can shine at work is really important. I heard Aflac's very good for that.
Thanks.
That's where my sister works, and she's also fabulous. So we've got loads of brilliant questions here. Someone has said, how can skilled migrants get a job career path here with locals when they have no prior UK work experience, but they do have great experience before? I mean, this isn't just tech, this is all areas, but does anyone have an insight into how they can get kind of work experience or just get on a career path?
I think the biggest barrier is probably the sort of the getting the visa and the visa status. And I know there's a lot of work going on at the minute through both MCS and probably other employer organisations to see how we can lobby around that, because across all of the sectors that we specialise in, from IT to engineering to finance and so on, there's a massive skills gap, and actually we need more people coming in, and absolutely, you'd love to take on individuals who've got that talent, and they've gained that talent internationally or have chosen to study in Northern Ireland and want to stay here and build a family. So there are definitely opportunities there, and employers who want to embrace that. But unfortunately, there is a gap in terms of the challenges around the visa and the cost of that. But it's something we're working on, and I don't know if that's something you ladies can comment on.
Phase you. Or Charlene?
Yeah, I guess one thing I would say to that, obviously there's a visa bit, but if you start in a company in a position, and okay, maybe you don't have a degree in that area, but companies are willing to develop individuals if they see talent, and you start off and very quickly, you can move yourself into positions within a very short period of time. So, don't be afraid of starting at the bottom and working your way up. Because that's what happens, I think, across the board. That's what companies are doing now. In Sensata, we removed a few years back the need to have a degree. It's not there anymore. So then we're trying to encourage more people to apply for positions, because we realise that there's good talent out there that we want to grow and support.
Thank you, Shirley. We've had a great question here, which I'm delighted about, because it's not really talked about enough. Someone has said gender pain, women-specific issues. How are they supported? Menopause, gynecology issues. Are we at the point where that's kind of talked about openly in companies? How are they supported? Phil?
If you'd asked me this question 2-3 years ago, I would have said it absolutely wasn't something that was talked about openly within VITA, and it's very much something that I'm pushing forward. In the last few years, we've had more people having babies, which has changed things, but more people going through menopause. We were historically a very male-dominated organisation, and in the last number of years, there's been a lot more females, and it's something that is extremely important. Like perimenopause, they say lasts between 6 and 13 years. That's a really long time, and your whole personality can change, and you can see people's personality changes, and that is something that I'm personally focusing on, and our people team are as well. We're looking to put in hopefully a male menopause advocate as well, so that they try and understand exactly what goes on. But it has been very quiet. My mother would be like, "Why are you talking about that?"
Yeah.
And well, it happens to us all, so we need to talk about it, and we need to talk about it more openly.
I do think that it's funny, isn't it? Why are you talking about that? But what? It's like the mother's thing is, sure, just suffer. I do suffer, So and I think the more you talk about it, like I have 2 brothers, and like me and my sister, that always have just talked to them as if they were one of our sisters, because we were like, someday they're gonna have girlfriends. Well, one of them. Is going to have girlfriend, going to have daughter, whatever, and they're going to be working with people who are sick because they have their period, or who can't come into whatever. But people don't think about it. And I feel like it's only been talked about in the past couple of years.
Yeah, and I think probably particularly in this community where the female talent is sort of like either there's a barrier coming into the sector, or as somebody mentioned earlier on, there's very few people sort of have 10 years plus tenure. I think at those key times in our lives when perhaps you do need a little bit of extra support, organisations really need to focus on that and have really robust policies in place to support their employees when they're going through those big life moments, because actually, people fundamentally change when they go through the menopause. Some people have a really difficult time, and they need the support and flexibility from their employers to be able to manage that and know that they can, step back in or step back up or do whatever with the full support of the organisation. So I think we just, again, need to be empathetic and flexible and understand that actually we want to retain people in our business. We don't want people getting to that life moment and then having to leave. So I just think talking about it, communicating it, and having the right policies and flexibility in place.
The first time I mentioned it at a board meeting, everybody's jaw just dropped, and I just said, every single one of you around this table are going to be, if you're not already, affected by this within the next couple of years, because all of their wives are around that age and they just like actually gasped, and now they are openly talking about it. It is a very different conversation than it was when that was first brought up.
Yeah, and I think that's, you just need to keep talking about things, keep educating. Sarah, when you were
Yeah, I was probably just going to add to that in terms of that education piece, as it's not just a women's issue, you know, as people leaders, as, you know, leaders of companies, as people in teams, you know, that education piece is absolutely critical because, Faye, as you rightly said, you know, if you don't want to know about it because you're a man and it gives you the ick, right, you're going to be managing someone who's going to be going through it, or your partner or whatever might be. So I don't think it's something that we can hide away from anymore. So, you know, the more we talk about it, the better.
Thank you so much, and we will end our panel there. Can we get a round of applause, please, folks?
Quite doing it.